She's with me, the single dad said calmly. The billionaire heiress froze at the table. Ethan didn't like fancy restaurants. Not because he felt out of place, he had long ago accepted that single fathers couldn't afford luxury dining, but because places like this made his daughter nervous. 8-year-old Mia clung to his hand as they stepped inside the marble-floored hall of La Lumiere, the kind of restaurant people book months in advance. "Daddy, are you sure her mom won't get mad if I tag along?" Mia whispered. "She invited us both," Ethan reassured her. "And you know I don't go anywhere without you." That made her smile, a tiny dimple forming the way it used to on her mother's cheek. It always punched a hole through his chest, in the place where grief had once lived, and still sometimes did. Tonight's dinner had come out of nowhere. It wasn't a date, at least, that's what Ethan kept telling himself. Arya Sterling, billionaire heiress to Sterling Global, had insisted on meeting him after he helped her during an unexpected emergency last week, a situation she probably didn't want the tabloids to know. Ethan wasn't one to mingle with the elite. He fixed HVAC systems, worked odd jobs, and kept life simple. But Arya, she had a kind of sincerity he'd never expect from someone whose shoes probably cost more than his monthly rent. Still, he walked into the restaurant with Mia at his side, determined to get through dinner without embarrassing himself. But the moment they entered, he sensed tension. Arya was already seated at a corner table. Her sleek black dress contrasted with the soft, golden lighting. She wasn't scrolling through her phone or looking around impatiently like most wealthy people did, she just sat, hands folded, as if deep in thought. And across from her stood a tall, sharply dressed man, jaw tight, expression boiling with irritation. Ethan frowned. "Daddy, is she fighting with someone?" Mia whispered. "Looks like it," he murmured. As they approached the table, he caught the tail end of the man's raised voice. "You can't be serious, Arya. You can't just ditch a $3 million deal for a dinner with." Arya's eyes snapped upward, relief flooding her features the instant she saw Ethan and Mia. "Ethan," she breathed, standing up. The man turned sharply, his cold blue eyes narrowing at Ethan as if measuring him, and finding him unworthy. "Who's this?" he demanded. Arya opened her mouth, but before she could speak, Ethan stepped forward, gently guiding Mia behind him. "She's with me," Ethan said calmly. The man blinked, stunned. Arya froze completely, lips parting in surprise as if she hadn't expected those words, or the steadiness behind them. "And you are?" the man asked sharply. "Her guest," Ethan replied. "And this is my daughter." Arya finally found her voice. "Ethan, Mia, I'm so glad you're here." The man scoffed and turned back to Arya. "So this is why you're ignoring my calls? Breaking deals, for him?" Arya stiffened. "Victor, I don't owe you an explanation. You should leave." Victor laughed humorlessly. "Arya, your father will never accept." "My father isn't here," she cut in firmly. Ethan reached for her arm gently. "Is everything all right?" Arya exhaled slowly. "Yes, now that you're here." But Ethan wasn't convinced. He helped Mia onto her seat and waited until Victor finally stormed out of the restaurant, muttering profanities into his phone. Arya sat down and placed a hand over her forehead. "I'm so sorry you had to walk into that." Ethan shrugged. "Not the first time someone's looked at me like I don't belong." Mia tapped Arya's arm gently. "Are you okay, Miss Arya?" Arya's expression softened immediately. "Yes, sweetheart, thank you." They ordered food, though Arya barely touched hers. Ethan watched her for several minutes before finally asking, "You want to tell me what that was about?" Arya took a breath. "Victor's my father's business partner. He thinks he gets a say in my decisions, including who I spend time with." "And does he?" "No." She looked up, eyes sincere. "I meant it when I said I wanted to see you again. You and Mia helped me in a way I can't properly explain." Ethan chuckled lightly. "We just changed your tire. You stopped on a stormy night," she reminded. "Most people drove past. Kindness doesn't need an audience." Arya stared at him, her gaze lingering too long, too warm. He looked away quickly. After dinner, Arya insisted on walking them to their car. But when Ethan reached his old, slightly dented pickup, Arya hesitated. "Ethan, can we talk? Just us?" Mia was already yawning. "Daddy, can I sleep in the car while you talk?" "Sure, pumpkin." Once Mia was settled, Ethan leaned against the truck, arms folded. Arya stood in front of him, her heels clicking softly on the pavement. "I know I surprised you with this dinner," she began. "But last week, when you helped me, something changed. You didn't treat me like a sterling. You treated me like a person. That's because that's what you are, he replied simply. And Mia, she hugged me before I left. Arya's voice cracked slightly. I haven't had a hug like that in years. Something in Ethan tightened. Arya, are you lonely? She gave a tiny, defeated nod. Everyone around me wants something. Money, influence, prestige. But you and Mia, you wanted nothing. We didn't need anything, Ethan said quietly. We were just doing what anyone should. Arya stepped closer, her voice barely above a whisper. You're different, Ethan, and that scares me, because I don't know what to do with different. He swallowed hard, because he felt it too. The pull, the softness, the possibility. Arya, I'm just a mechanic who works 2 jobs. I have a daughter who comes first in everything I do. I don't have the money, the lifestyle. I don't want your money, she cut in. I want your honesty, your kindness. You make me feel human. A silence stretched between them, warm but heavy. Then Arya whispered, do you think we could get to know each other better? Ethan looked at her, really looked. At the woman who had every luxury in the world but spoke like someone starving for affection. At the woman who didn't flinch at his worn-out shirt or old truck. At the woman who had treated Mia with genuine tenderness. And something inside him finally gave in. I think we could try, he said softly. Arya smiled then, slow, relieved, hopeful. But just as she stepped forward, headlights flashed across them. A sleek black car rolled to a stop, and the door opened. A man stepped out, older, powerful, dressed in an immaculate suit. Arya froze instantly. Father, she whispered. Ethan straightened. The man's eyes swept over him, then the truck, then Mia asleep inside. Disapproval radiated off him like heat. Arya, he said coldly. Get in the car. Father, no, I'm not leaving. He narrowed his eyes. Are you really lowering yourself to this level? A mechanic, a single parent. Think, Arya. Ethan bristled, but Arya grabbed his sleeve gently. A silent plea. Don't. Not yet. Her father stepped forward. Young man, I respect that you helped my daughter. But let's not confuse gratitude with compatibility. Ethan held Arya's gaze. Do you want to go with him? No, she whispered immediately. Her father's jaw ticked. Arya, I said no, she repeated, louder this time. You don't get to make every decision for me. Her father looked genuinely stunned, perhaps for the first time realizing his daughter wasn't a child anymore. You're making a mistake. Arya straightened her shoulders. Maybe, but it's my mistake to make. He waited for her to give in. She didn't. Finally, with a cold shake of his head, he returned to his car and drove away. The moment the taillights faded, Arya's legs trembled slightly. Ethan caught her elbow. You okay? She nodded, though her eyes glistened. I've never stood up to him like that. I'm proud of you, Ethan said quietly. She smiled shakily. Can I see you again? Ethan looked through the truck window at Mia sleeping peacefully. Then at Arya, whose expression was open, honest, vulnerable. Yes, he whispered. We'll take it slow. For Mia, for both of us. Arya stepped closer, lowering her voice. Slow, but real, he promised. She let out a breath of relief, then whispered. Good, because tonight, when you said, she's with me, I realized nobody has ever said that for me before. Ethan reached out and gently tucked a strand of hair behind her ear. Well, he murmured, get used to it. Arya's smile returned, soft and luminous. Because for the first time in a long time, she wasn't a billionaire heiress. She was simply a woman. And she was with someone who saw her, really saw her. And for Ethan, a man who had loved and lost, he felt something he hadn't felt in years. Hope.